Meet Da Crew Podcast. We are the change we desire to see in this world. If you won't change, you have to be the change. We are looking for 3 more hosts to join our team. If you have a message for the world and would like to be a part of the hottest new podcast and media network rocking the podcast world right now, join Da Crew Podcast and Media Network. Looking for a little exposure? Allow each TIA Enterprises the opportunity to share your brand around the world. We will work with you to develop a package that fits your budget. Contact IHEART via email and schedule a consultation. Crewpodcast 2023@gmail.com. We are the change we desire to see.
Basic Black, After Dark, the all-new podcast show with your host, Black Diamond.
Hey everybody, this is Black Diamond from the Crew Network, and you're listening to Basic Black After Dark podcast, the show that meets you where you are and give you what you ask for. And from time to time, we discuss sensitive topics that arise based on the needs and expectations of the community. When the U.S. child support collection system was set up in 1975 under President Gerald Ford, the country, the typical family, looked very different from today. I'm going to walk you through what the child support collection system looked like in 1975, what issues it was designed to address, and what may have changed. Launched in 1975, the government established Section 4D of the Social Security Act. No-fault divorce had recently passed, and there was a rapid increase in divorce. This system would try to ensure that after a divorce, the government would try to replicate what the household looked like prior to the divorce, regarding the children's welfare especially. So the father would continue to provide income to the child, and the mother usually would get the child following the divorce in terms of physical custody. And she would use the resources. Now pay attention, ladies. She would use the resources from the father for the household, but mostly the child. Now let's fast forward. It is 2023, and families consist of more than men, women, and children. The system cannot replicate what the household looks like when the home consists of non-marital couples, when there's more than one father involved. And Maury says, you are not the father, so why am I paying child support? We're going to get to that in a minute, which is the topic of the show. I just want to let you know a little bit more, give you a little bit more insight into the child support. The child support program started off as a federal-state partnership with the goal of reducing money spent on an aid to families with dependent children. That was the AFDC program. Some states say TCA, others say welfare, but for argument's sake, we'll just say state benefits. From 1935 to 1996, benefits was a primary support to families with children. The child support program collected money from non-custodial parents, most of whom were fathers, whose children relied on state benefits. But this support did not go to children. Instead, it was used to reimburse the government for benefits. That's right. It was used to reimburse the government the money they paid to the custodial parent. For example, if a court ordered a parent to pay, just say back in that time, $100 a month in child support to a household that received $100 in benefits, the state kept that entire amount, the $100, paid by the non-custodial parent, which was called the benefit recovery, which is still true today. Now, some states do give a portion of these payments to custodial parents and children if the amount paid is more than the benefit that they receive. But there is a method to this madness. They will reduce your benefits because the extra income received they figure belongs to them. Keep in mind, in 2021, the government kept an estimated $1.38 billion in child support. This approach to benefit recovery requires poor non-custodial parents to repay the federal government for the minimal cash aid their children receive, providing their parents nor children with economic security. Receiving child support payments is often essential for custodial parent families, considering some of these families live in poverty. But targeting and punishing people who cannot pay does not help anyone. For the most part, the laws does not consider whether parents avoid paying child support because they do not want to or because they are not the father of the child. That brings us to our first question of the night. Now, Manny in Oklahoma asks, if I'm not the father, then why am I paying child support? Well, many men ask the same question. If I'm not the father, then why am I paying child support? Well, Manny, it depends on the situation. You may not have to pay child support if you're not on the birth certificate. However, if you adopt a child or there's a court order, you're responsible for paying child support, even if you're not the biological father. Now, what I want to do is give a disclaimer. I am not an attorney. I don't work for child support. It's just that these things, they come by me pretty easy, so I do understand the situation. And I've asked some experts too. Now, Carlos from Smithtown, Long Island says he is married. However, the child is not his. Do I still have to pay child support? Carlos, there are systems as well as the family court that designed this system to protect the rights and best interests of the child. I know you're going to say it's not fair, but I'm just telling you what I know. Here's where I want you to pay attention. When parents are married and a child is born, the child is considered legitimate. Unfortunately, when the parents are unmarried, the child is labeled illegitimate. Well, it's not a nice word to say, but that's what the system came up with. However, you are still responsible for the child and must pay child support. Sorry, Carlos, but that's the rules and that's the laws in some states. So you may want to check with your local child support just to find out what's going on. Now, Kevin in Detroit, he says he has no relationship with the child. He is paying child support for the child because he is not married to the child's mother. Unfortunately, Kevin, you may be considered a presumptive father, a punitive father, which means although you have not legally established a relationship with the child and you are not married to the child's mother, but you are either claiming to be the biological father of the child or you are either alleged to be the biological father by the mother, you will have to pay child support. Sorry. No relationship with the child does not mean you don't pay child support. Your child support is still due. It is still your responsibility to care for the child. Now, Taekwon in Pennsylvania says he told his friend that the boy wasn't his son, but he does not think the boy is his because he says that the boy don't look like him or his family. Well, Taekwon, you may be still on the hook for child support. You told someone, your friend in this case, that the boy wasn't yours, but you've been telling everybody else that the boy was yours. You are considered the father. Men, let me just tell you something. When you're taking a child, just say you guys are taking your child to the barber shop and you're saying this is your little man, or you're bragging to your friends that this little boy is yours, or you're attending a daddy-daughter day event at this school, or even celebrating Father's Day, going out with the mother and enjoying Father's Day, and they're saying daddy, and you're with the child, you just told the world that you acknowledge this child as yours. So you will have to pay child support. But again, check with them in Pennsylvania. They may have something else going on there. You are considered a prospective father if you were, now listen carefully, cohabitating with the mother at the time of conception. If you were married to the mother at the time of conception, and you are named by the mother on the child's birth certificate as the father, or named in connection with the application that she applied for public assistance, then you are identified as the prospective father. Now, I do want to back up some. When it comes to the mother putting your name on the child's birth certificate, most hospitals, most states want the father there to sign. They have to be there to sign. Now, how she gets your name on there and you didn't go there to sign, that's going to be probably a court issue. Now, I'm not giving you advice. I'm just saying that it's of difficult to put a child's name on the birth certificate and your name on there too as the father. I don't know if you just went up there and did it and just wanted to leave. I'm not sure what happened in that case, but you may want to check with them in Pennsylvania, Taekwondo, and anybody else that's going through the same thing. Now, I have something from Isaiah in Connecticut. He says he was listed on the birth certificate and then was told he had to pay child support to a child he didn't even know anything about. Well, Isaiah, I'm not sure what state you reside in, but you will be considered what is called an unmarried biological father. If the father is listed on the birth certificate of the child, he is considered the legal father. However, the statute states that the mother of a child born out of wedlock is the natural guardian of the child and is entitled to primary residential care and custody of the child unless a court states otherwise. So you may need to go to court as well. You are still considered the father, but you are considered the non-custodial father. So it gets a little sticky when it comes to having your name on the birth certificate and you're not married to the mother, but this is what some states are doing. Now, you guys are coming in from different states. I cannot sit here and tell you that your state will do this, but this is just me just pulling your coattail. Now, I know some women that's listening saying, you're a woman. Why are you doing this for them? Because I'm a fair person. Now, if you are a woman and you're calling me up or hitting me up and you're asking questions, I'm going to do the same thing for you. You can be asking me, how do you go about things? But I think that there was one woman that did email me about something. So I'm going to get to her question too. This is from somebody who I guess don't want anybody to know it's them, and that's fine. This is anonymous. Said that I never planned on being a father. Am I still responsible for the child? Well, anonymous, all it takes is one time. And it can be a little sticky and tricky. You would have to give me more because I'm not sure where you're coming at with this, but I'll try to explain what I do know. Paternity is distinguished from legitimacy, specifically to potentially allow shared fatherhood duties with no alterations in the child's legitimate status. In many cases, a man who has been shown to be the biological father of a child may have no parental rights. So you could be the father of the child, but there are cases where you don't have parental rights. Again, I don't know what state you're calling from or what the situation is with you and the mother of the child. You may have to contact an attorney or go to child support, your local child support agency to find out what your rights are, whether you have to pay child support or whatever is going on. I do not know if you're married or not, but parents can stipulate in a divorce, if you are married, that the husband is not the father of the wife's unborn baby. If the baby has already been born, the father is required to file for a termination of parental rights in the event of a divorce, should the wife state that the child is not the husband's biological child. Check with your state's child support office or a family lawyer. They got family attorneys that do situations like this. So there are cases where a man and a woman could be married and he doesn't even know that she stepped out on him, which in some cases that happens. And the baby comes back, baby doesn't look like him. And for obvious reasons, the baby may not look like him. That could be grounds right there for him to wonder, why am I taking care of this child? So that may be a discussion that you may want to have with your partner before you drag it into court, because sometimes children don't have to look like you. They can look at the other side of the family, or they may look like your great uncle that you may not have ever met. So don't get into arguing, fussing, and fighting over a situation that you may not have the answer to just yet. Now, Greg in Memphis, he wants to know, do I have to have a paternity test to stop paying child support? Well, a paternity test does help, Greg. Essentially, if a paternity test is established and the father has an obligation to provide financial support to the child until the child reaches the age of majority. So if you do a paternity test and the child turns out to be your child, then yes, you will have to pay child support. Now I'm gonna apologize if I get your name wrong. Is this Lee Li or Lie? I'm not sure how you spell your name or how you pronounce it, but I apologize in advance. Hey, Latanya, how are you? Thanks for checking in. Lee from Jersey. He says that I stopped paying child support because I was not working. Can I lose my driver's license? I know from maybe as far back as 1970 to maybe 1990, the federal government implemented multiple harsh enforcement measures within the child support program. These enforcement policies, which are still in effect today, range from garnishing up to two-thirds pay and suspending your driver's license, and many professional licenses as well. They do this and they contact the reporting agency, the child support agency, contacts motor vehicle. They can contact the credit bureaus, and unfortunately, you can even be incarcerated if you're not paying your child support. I don't know if you fellas notice, but I want to give you a heads up. And I know if some of you ladies are listening again, I don't want you to think that I'm just on their side. I'm just giving them information, just like I would give you information. I want to give you a heads up that there is something called, which you probably already know, the deadbeat dad. Well, there's a program called the Deadbeat Dad Operation, in which a local newspaper makes a list of the names of the fathers who owe child support. They publicly shame them. Those who were behind on payments are shamed. What happens is that the police get a list of this newspaper and they apprehend several fathers who did not come forward. They put them in jail until they could pay their child support. Unfortunately, raids like this happen across the country. Now, here's where I want you guys to pay attention. These raids happen around Father's Day. And I know you're saying, oh, no, that's not happening. They get this list, they look it up, they know where you at, and they can arrest you on Father's Day. I know that you're saying, oh, that's not fair, that's not right. But if you're the father and you're willingly not paying child support, there's nothing else I can say except that come Father's Day, they may come knocking on your door and they may have a warrant for your arrest for non-payment. Now, Mike, he's in California. He writes, she won't let me see my kids, so I stopped paying child support. Mike, child support and visitation has nothing to do with the other. However, you should never stop making your payments of child support unless your child reaches the age of 18. And in most cases, or if the child is still in high school, if the child could be, your child could be 19 years of age and still in high school. I mean, actually in high school, they could be taking some GED program. You would still have to pay child support. Now, if your child is disabled, then you would be paying child support for a very long time because your child is disabled and the child still has to be taken care of. And those checks and payments could continue. Speak to an attorney, contact your local child support agency. They could give you some more information and guidance on that. But I would hate for you to just stop paying child support because you just don't want to pay it anymore. And because she doesn't want you to see the kids again, your children still have to be taken care of. You do, however, have the legal right to visit the child or engage in time sharing of the child with the mother. But if you're unable to come to an agreement regarding the time sharing, the time that you spend with the child, the mother in some states and under those state laws can make that determination. I'm not going to give advice, but speak to an attorney. That is something that I know most people are doing. In some states, unmarried biological father's rights to the child can get quite complicated when they want to see the child. So if you are married and you're separated and you want to see your child again, I would suggest, I'm not going to advise, I would say think about going to an attorney or either go to mediation. It's free. I believe it's free. You can go to the court and ask for a mediator, speak to your significant other, the child's parent, and See if you can work it out. Because I know just seeing each other on the outside, that may not work out. So go to court. That might be the best thing for you. Where you're not in front of a judge, but you're in front of someone who can help out, in that situation. TK in Washington says, we are divorced. Do I have to pay child support? If the parents divorce within 2 years of the birth of the child, or the mother and father have never been married, a man who believes he is not the biological father of the child can petition the court. Now, you're going to have to go through something, and you may have to pay for an attorney. So you should think about it. How long will this drag on? I don't think it's going to drag on until the child reaches the age of 18. But again, this is something that you may want to speak to your partner about. Y'all should really know each other to know whether this child is yours or not. Sometimes men accept the child, and when you do that, you're telling the world that that's your child. Now, she may have had a child 2 or 3 years before you even came into the picture. But if that child is living with you and her, or either you come and see this child and you're telling people that, yeah, that's your child, you can be on the hook for child support. So again, speak to child support, speak to an attorney, speak to a family law attorney. That may help much more than I can help. But I'm just pulling your coattail on some of these things. Mr. Big in Boston. He asks, have you ever heard of disestablishment of paternity? Well, Mr. Big, I have, but I only heard of it in Florida. But it could exist in other states. The best way for me to explain it is to say, suppose a couple is living together, but not married. A baby is born, and the assumption is that the baby is the product of this relationship. The couple may then decide, maybe they break up and the mother applies through the Department of Social Services for benefits, for food stamps, for medical assistance, child care, or cash assistance, whatever she's applying for. The department will get involved. They are going to tell her that she has to go and apply for child support. Now, I know some women don't want to take you down there for child support. They feel as though you're helping out the best way that you can. And I will say this about some women. And they do need assistance because they're still trying to make ends meet. But when they go down to child support, they are told that they have to tell them who the father is. Now, women, they're not going with this anymore that I don't know who he is. You're going to have to come up with a name. And I'm not just saying, oh, it's John Smith, John Doe. You're going to have to start being real. You're going to have to give them the truth and tell them the name. Sorry, guys, but they have to. And I know you may be upset with them. Why did you take me through child support? They're asking for state benefits. And that is a requirement that they have to comply with child support in order to get some assistance. And then perhaps maybe down the road, the mother tells the father that maybe he's not the biological father of the child. She will no longer allow him to see the child, yet there is an order which demands that the father continues to pay child support. Again, get an attorney. That may help you out. But to go and get benefits, they're going to have to comply with child support. No matter what, they're going to have to comply. So don't get upset with them. Ladies, you have to do what you have to do to take care of your child, not to just go down there and being spiteful. If he's giving you money, maybe he'll go with you down there and say, look, this is what I can afford. This is what I have been giving her. You may be surprised. You may be able to work out some stuff. A situation like this is where disestablishment of a paternity comes in as a procedure that could end in one of two ways. The court will determine through DNA tests that the child is not the father's biological child, and the father will then have to file for termination of all support obligations to the child. So if it is, I'm going to say it again, if a DNA test determines that you are not the biological father, then you're going to have to file for termination of all support obligations. And that's going to be going through the court. Once they give you that document, then you go to child support so they can stop the payments. So you won't be able to, you won't have to pay the payments anymore. But you have to take it one step at a time. You can't just go down there and say the DNA test, say that I'm not the father of the child anymore, so I don't have to pay. That's not how it works. You have to go through court, take care of that. The DNA shows that, and then they'll give you the documents to take the child support so they can take care of it. That's the best way that I could explain it. But for you to disestablish paternity, no child support must be owed. So you cannot owe child support in this kind of case. You still have to pay the child support, and you have to go through the proper channels to do that. DNA samples are to be obtained voluntarily or according to a court order. You cannot just say that he has to go there, force him to take it there. You can't do that. You have to do it voluntarily. And guys, if you don't want to pay the child support anymore, then you should voluntarily go down there and do the DNA if you strongly feel as though that's not your child. You'll get a court order, or you'll voluntarily go. If the parents were married at the time of conception, the child must not have been conceived by artificial insemination. So if you were having problems having children and y'all opted to do artificial insemination, you won't be able to do it. You won't be able to disestablish paternity because that was artificial insemination. You willingly provided your instruments to have a child. I'll say it that way. I try to keep this a clean show. The child must not have been adopted while the parents were married. If you were married and you adopt the child together, you're the father. You are the father. Adoption means final. It's adopted. That child has your name. That means that their biological parent is no longer their parent. You are the parent. Your name is on that birth certificate. So the two of you are now the parents. And if you go your separate ways, you can pay child support. The child can live with the dad. Mom has to pay it. Other way around, whoever has the child is the person that is considered the custodial parent. The petition must be submitted within 2 years of the birth of the child, or it must be submitted within 2 years of the time the father is notified that he may not be the child's biological father. So those are ways that you could disestablish paternity. And those are probably the best ways to do it. We're going to take a break right now. And then when we come back, we're going to follow this conversation up. Okay? We got a commercial coming your way.
Stereotypes, they got to go. I'ma mess around and flip the scene into reverse. With what? With a little touch of ladies first.
Hey, we are back, and we're talking about child support. Now, I do want to say something to you ladies. I don't want you to think that I forgot about you. I want you to keep in mind that there are unintended consequences of this establishment of paternity, and that's where we were at before we went on this break. It is obviously both financially and understandably for a man who's not allowed to see his child that he believed was his biological child, but who was legally responsible for financially supporting that child, to disestablish paternity. Despite this, there can be some unintended consequences of disestablishing paternity for the child. For one, the loss of a parental relationship can have long-term devastating emotional consequences for the child. This child is caught in the middle of a legal battle. The issue goes far beyond finances since it involves the child's emotions. So before you want to disestablish paternity, whether you're saying you don't want to have the child as your child anymore, some people do that. Why? I don't know, but some people say, I don't want to be a parent anymore. So they want to go and terminate their own rights. You've had a relationship with this child for years, and all of a sudden you just want to drop out of their life. You don't want to be the parent anymore because you are doing something else with your life, or maybe you're remarried, or maybe you're not getting along with the parent. Again, it's not about you. It's not about the other person. It's about this child. So I want you, men and women, to keep in mind that it's about the child, okay? Sincere in Seattle says, I was paying child support for 17 years and found out that she knew the child was not mine. Can I sue her? Ooh. Or can I get retroactive relief? Sincere, I'm not sure if you can sue her. You should contact an attorney. You will also need to prove that she knew the child was not yours all along. As for relief, you'll probably be able to get, if it's determined that the child is not yours, For future payments, those will stop. But for past payments, those were past payments. In other words, the petitioner may not attempt to recover previously paid child support. You might not be able to get that money back. I can't tell you whether you can sue her or not, but you would have to prove that she knew that this child was not yours and she told you it was yours and you was taking care of it. What I can say is for any men or females, whoever, hold on to your receipts. Hold on to receipts for any child support that you're paying. Don't just think that, oh, I went and I paid it or I paid it directly to her. We're good. I don't want to get in the middle of somebody's relationship, but if you are ordered by court to pay child support, pay it directly to them. Don't let it exchange hands because things can happen on either one of your part. Things can happen. So I wouldn't want you to say I paid it and she's saying that I didn't, or he never gave it to me. That's messy. I don't even like using that word, but it is. It could be really, really messy. So I would suggest that if you have a child support order, to go directly to the child support office and make the payment or send it however you're supposed to give it to them. Make sure it goes there. They will direct it to where it needs to go. JR writes, the child has my first and last name, and he is not my child. What can I do to get my name back? Well, JR, once this establishment is granted, and that's what I spoke about earlier, a new birth certificate will be prepared and issued. So that birth certificate won't have your name on it anymore. The child's last name may be changed at that time if the mother requests such a change. So your initials are JR. Just say your name was John Doe, and the child's name was John Doe Jr. And you already established that the child was not yours. You went through court. The court will issue a new birth certificate, and that birth certificate will not have your name on it as the father. It probably won't have any name on it unless the mother show or prove that there was another father or there was somebody else and that person just happens to be there in court or whatever the case may be. Then your name will come off, but it will be up to the mother to change the child's first and last name. The only thing I can tell you is that your name will no longer be on there. And just think about it. If you have a common name, then that child will have the name of a common name, in other words. But I don't know any man that would know that that's his child and somebody else's name came off and he wouldn't want to give them his name. People are funny. Things happen. So, while it hardly seems fair after you found out that you're not the biological father of a child, you must nonetheless make a good effort to comply with child support payments already in place. So if you are told that the child is not yours or you figured it out that the child was not yours, continue to make your payments because you don't want a legal problem. Once you have decided to fight the child support order through the disestablishment of paternity, do not sign anything else or do anything that will continue to suggest that you are the child's father. Don't go on social media. Don't put no photos of you and the child. No talking about how cute or clever your baby is. No letters to anybody. No texts or emails. Just stop everything, because that's going to continue to tell the court that you're telling them that you're not the father, but you're telling the world that you are. And the court may just drop the whole case and say, look, you're paying child support. You are the father of this child. Remember also that there must be newly discovered evidence if you had some doubts regarding the paternity of the child when you were ordered to pay the child support. So if you were told you were the child and then something else comes up after all of that, that's new evidence. But if you did nothing, then the court's going to say, well, you accepted the child as being yours. You voiced those doubts before the other people, bring those people to court. Let them know that you've always thought that way, but you was told that you had to pay child support. You may not be able to disestablish a paternity if that case is so, where you're telling them that the court, that's not my child, but you're telling everybody else that it is. Court's not playing games with anybody. They would just say that you have to pay the child support. But again, get an attorney. Each state has different laws about child support, so it's wise for non-custodial parents to become very familiar with their state's laws. If a parent is confused about the law, it can lead to adverse consequences such as your driver's license suspended, your wages being garnished, bank levies, and other unwanted effects from failure to pay. So just be mindful of those things that can happen, okay? John S. asks, why aren't women paying child support? Women can be ordered to pay child support if she's the non-custodial parent. Now, what I do want to say is that there are men, many men, who are stepping up and going to court and saying that they want custody of their child. And a lot of them are winning. They are actually winning. And I don't want to say winning because it really shouldn't be a fight. But if dad knows that mom is in a dark place and he wants to continue to support her by her doing what she needs to do to help herself out, and he's going to go get custody of the child so both of them won't lose the child, he's going to go get custody of his child. But if you start doing the right thing and you are living your life and he's taking care of the child, he can go to court for child support. And you may have to pay, ladies. Don't think because, oh, I'm a woman, I don't have to pay child support. Yeah, you do. Anybody, I just want you to understand that if you are the non-custodial parent, whether you're the male or the female, the man or the woman, the custodial parent will receive child support from you. They can go to court to get child support from you. So don't think that it's just the man thing, that the court is just after the men. It's whoever is the custodial parent. Wherever the child is living, more than 50% of the time, that child is living with the parent that's going to receive the child support. So if it's a 50-50 thing, we'll get into that too. David wants to know, if I spend money on my child and buy them gifts, why am I paying child support? David, it is what it is. It's a gift. Child support is not a gift. It is a responsibility. A gift is something you wanted to give to your child, like Christmas. Some dads or moms just like to buy things for their children. You may want to give your child a gift for maybe good grades in school. And because mom or dad made you mad, you want to take it back? You can't do that. It's a gift. Child support is ordered through the court. Now, if you and mom have worked out something and the court is not involved, and you gave her, just say you gave her $100 this week, and then you went out and bought your son something or your daughter something and whatnot, that's a gift. Or either you said, I'll take them school shopping. I'm just saying it because school's coming. I'll take them school shopping. Mom, think about it. He went and bought all the clothes. That's helping you out. You shouldn't expect child support at the same time. Otherwise, you can say, just give me the money, I'll buy the clothes, and I'll pay the bills with it too. Now, I'm not going to say anything about you getting your nails done, your hair done, or anything else. That's another conversation. Thomas in South Carolina. She is getting state aid for the child. Is she still entitled to child support? Yes. The state determines how much state aid she'll receive and if she'll receive any of the child support. In some states, they don't get any child support because they're receiving state benefits or aids, and some people say state aid. So the state gets from you somewhat. So in other words, the state determines how much money a mom is going to get. So if you are getting, and you're getting state benefits and you're getting $300 for you and your child, they're going to go after child support. If the child support order is $300, then the state is going to take the $300. But if the child support order is $350, like I said earlier, sometimes the state keeps it, or sometimes they'll give her the $300 that the state was going to give her anyway, and they give her an extra $25 because they already got their money back. Now they got the extra $25 that's laying around there. I don't know what the state does with that, but I just told you it was over $1 billion that they collected. So you go figure. If you know that you're going to get $300 from the state benefits and he can shell out $300 to you, do the math. Why bother to get the state benefits? Now, I know medical coverage is there, but you can ask dad, can you put the child on his medical coverage? So that takes care of that as well. So those are just some things for you guys to think about. Jordan in New York City says that child support is for the child, but she's spending it on herself. Can I stop paying child support? That was something I was going to get into. Absolutely not. You cannot stop paying child support. Unfortunately, it may be hard to determine what she's spending the child support on. But if she's using the money for the rent, utilities, or extracurricular activities for the child or with the child, then she's using the child support on the child. The child has to live in that home, so she has to pay that rent. She's not charging the child rent, but she has to pay the rent. The child has to live there. The child needs the lights and everything else that's going on in the house. So that's what the money is used for. But if you see on the other side that she's going and get her nails done and her hair done and stuff, that could be money that she has. It may look like it's the money that you're giving her, but if your child don't look like it's going without, when you see your child or you get your child, then don't worry about it. She's probably doing the right thing by taking care of the child. Tony of Virginia writes, can they garnish my wages if I miss a child support payment? Yes, they can. They can garnish your wages, and they'll continue to do so they ensure that your payments are being made. You really don't want them to garnish your wages because it's not a good feeling to expect one thing on your check, and then when you get it, it's something else. And you really don't want your job involved in all that, because when they do payroll, they know, because child support contacts them. So try to make your payments. Try not to miss any child support payments, because you don't want them to garnish your wages. Alan in Maryland says he lost his job. Do I still pay child support? And he says, can I file for bankruptcy? Yes and yes. If you lose your job, yes, you do still have to pay child support, because the child still has to be taken care of. The child does not stop living because you lost your job. And I'm sorry that you may have lost your job, but the child still has to be provided for. Child support does not stop because you lost your job. You may want to contact your child support agency to see if you can get what they call a modification in child support payments. And a modification is that you'll still pay something, but there's an arrear, but they'll hold it on the side until you find a job. And then once you start working again, you'll start paying some of that arrears plus what your current payment is supposed to be anyway. So they can help you in that way. So don't just stop paying child support. Now, as far as the bankruptcy, yeah, you can file bankruptcy if you lose your job, but that wouldn't stop your child support payments. Child support is child support. You can't file bankruptcy just because you lost your job and you don't want to pay the child support. That doesn't work. You have to file bankruptcy for reasons that it was set up for bankruptcy, not because you're stuck, or I take that back. I don't want to say stuck. Some men think that they're stuck, but not because you're paying child support. So don't think, oh, I'm going to go file bankruptcy, I don't have to pay child support anymore. That's not going to work, because you got to go through legal matters when you do bankruptcy, and they're going to itemize everything that's there. So if you put child support down there, guess what's going to happen? Line right through it. They're not going to accept that. It doesn't work. They don't do that. So Latanya asks, is there ever a reason that child support gets dropped? Yeah, there are reasons that child support gets dropped, Latanya. One of the reasons is, unfortunately, it could be the death of the child. If the child passed away, then you're not going to pay child support. And I would hate for that to be the reason, but you're not going to have to pay child support. If the child turns 18 and they're not still in high school, then you don't have to pay child support anymore. And that's in most states because they're considered adults at 18 years of age. Or if the child is, I said earlier, disabled, you have to continue to take care of that child. So there's very little that can be done as far as dropping child support. But again, if the child passes away or the child reaches the age of 18, then you don't have to pay child support. Or you can determine that that child wasn't yours in the first place, and you're going through court, and the court determines, yes, through DNA or maybe admission by mom, that that child is not yours, and you won't be paying child support anymore. But there's no other reason that I know of that you wouldn't pay child support. Or unless you're deceased, then of course you're not paying child support. So those would be some of the reasons. But I would tell anyone, contact child support, their local child support agency, or to get an attorney that deals with family law, and they can help you. Again, I am not an attorney. These are just some things that I know. I did speak to some experts on some questions. These questions came in, so I wanted to make sure that I had the right answers, and plus answers that I already knew, because I dealt with some people who dealt with some of these issues with child support. But that's only in the state that I live in. So I give that advice for states that I live in. But other states may follow suit. They may do the same thing, but then every state have their own rules and their own regulations. But thanks for the question, Latanya. Okay, where are we at? Kenny in Freeport, Long Island. He says he was incarcerated for 2 years. Why was he obligated to still pay child support? Unfortunately, the world does not stop when you're incarcerated, just like your child does not stop living. Ask your attorney if they can assist you with modification while you're incarcerated, so you're not hit with a double whammy before you release from prison. You don't want to be in prison owing child support and it wasn't paid and it's time for you to get out. Guess what? By the time you get to that door, boom, they hit you with non-payment of child support and you're turning right back around. You're going back inside. Make sure you speak with your attorney to see if they can assist you with the paperwork for modification of child support. But in some cases in prison, you can work, or there's work, or some people do work and do certain things in prison. And if you're getting a check in prison, then that's part of that modification. You're showing that you're in prison. Your attorney can vouch for you, send whatever document they need to, saying that my client is currently incarcerated and they may be working in prison, and they'll modify whatever payment you're getting, and that would go directly to the child support agency to start paying some of that child support down. Think of it this way: if you're in there for a stretch for any period of time, you want to get that down, especially when you know you're going to be coming out and you just want a clean record. You just don't want to have anything hanging over your head. Try to take care of whatever you can take care of while you're in that situation. You have an attorney. They're supposed to be working for you. I understand that they're working for your criminal matter, but you have some decent attorneys who may want to help you out as well. So again, you don't want to get rearrested for non-payment of child support. The child support you owe will eventually be in arrears and it will add up. So you will have some payments that will be adding up. Donald in New York says, my child is 18 years old. Should the child support end by now? Again, unless they're disabled or still in high school, it won't stop. But if they're 18, then it should stop, Donald. There's no reason why you should still be paying child support, unless you want to still help your child, but it wouldn't be considered child support because it might not be going to the parent, to the mom. It may just be going to your child. Your child could be in college and you just want to help your child out. So that could be, one way of you still supporting your child. It's not between you and your child anyway. The disagreement was never between you and your child. So, helping your child out may be something you want to continue to do. Andrew in Charlotte, North Carolina says, I am receiving SSI. Can they stop my benefits? Well, Andrew, you should not have to pay child support if you're receiving SSI. However, if you're ordered to pay support before you started receiving SSI and later you started receiving it, you will have to file a petition to ask for the court to stop the support. Okay, so if you were already paying child support and you received SSI maybe 2 years later after that, what you would have to do is petition the court to tell them that you're receiving SSI so they can stop the payment. But I don't want you dads to get it mixed up, or you moms to get it mixed up. Oh, I'm going to claim a disability so I won't have to pay child support anymore. First of all, you're going to have to actually be disabled in order to get the SSI. So it doesn't work for you to just be doing that, thinking that, oh, this is one way I'm not going to have to pay. You may have to pay child support out of your check if you receive SSDI. So there's a difference in SSI and SSDI. SSDI, you'll have to pay child support out of your check if you're receiving it. If you do not pay, Social Security is going to garnish part of that check. And the largest amount they can garnish is 65% of your check. So you don't want to start going down that road. They're going to take out 65% of your check. Think of it this way. You might not have been paying that much, but that 65% coming out of that check, that's a whole lot. Because that's more than half. So what you going to do then? Pay your child support. Work something out. Maybe mom will understand that dad is disabled, dad's not able to work. Or maybe the other way around, mom is disabled now and they're not able to do that. They can do what they can. Talk to each other. That works sometimes if you really talk to each other. Larry in the ATL. I simply cannot afford what I'm ordered to pay in child support. Should I stop payments? Absolutely not. Ask for a modification. Modification is granted only when there's a substantial change in your income or the child's income or the child's needs. So just say that your child needs a tutor, your child has to go for just say mental health services, or your income has decreased, then you can go for the modification, bring all the proof that you need. As for the men, if you lost your job or you are working at another job and you're not making the same amount of money, go and see if you can get modification, but you need to bring proof. Now, ladies, I'm going to give this one to you as well. If for whatever reason that your child needs other services and you can't afford to do it, say they need a tutor, say they're going for special therapy and you're working, but your insurance is not covering it, you can go for modification. If they was already paying you $100 a month and you know you need that extra support, you can go there too for modification and ask for more money. But don't go and ask for more money either side, being greedy or being nasty to the other person, because modification is not set up for that. Modification is there to help so you can do what you need to do for your child. Not because, oh, I'm mad at him, I need some more money, so I'm going to go ahead and see if I can get more money from them. They're going to grant it to me. Then, yeah, I can go on vacation with my friends every month. I'll get an extra $200-$300. That's not the way it works. And that's not what it was put in there for. So use modification because you need modification. It's not fair. Here's a question that says, what if he's picky on when he pays? Should I then seek child support? Well, if he was giving you money without a child support order and he's telling he's going to give it to you every Friday, and then all of a sudden he missed that Friday, there could be a reason why he missed that Friday. Maybe he was sick. Maybe he was out of town. It could be many, many reasons. Remember, we just came out of COVID. So there could be many reasons why he missed that payment. So I wouldn't necessarily say, oh, he missed Friday's payment and here it is Saturday morning, I didn't get the payment yet. Maybe he worked a double last night. Maybe he was, God forbid, in an accident. He couldn't get it to you. Don't go run down to child support Monday morning saying, well, he didn't do it, so now I'm going to start taking him there. No, that's not the way you do it. Talk to each other. Talk to each other to find out what's going on. Maybe he'll give you that Friday plus the following Friday at the same time because maybe he was working and he says, she's doing a good job taking care of my kids. So I want to hit her with a little extra money for this week. You never know. What happened if dad is working under the table and or a simple cash business? Well, if you can prove that he's working, take pictures. Send a decoy in there. No, I'm just kidding. Take pictures of dad working. Dad's going to slip up somewhere along the line and tell somebody. And if he's working under the table, whatever establishment he's working for, they should report it. Unless it's Uncle Jeb or somebody like that, family can work for each other. But if they're paying them, maybe he's paying them out of his pocket. Uncle may be helping them out in that way. But if you can prove it, then you can take them for child support. Because they're going to ask them to come to court. They could be subpoenaed to court. And then you can say, well, he was working over there with so-and-so. Uncle Jeb is not going to want to jeopardize his job because they're going to have Uncle Jeb in court too. So if you can prove that he's working, don't think that all relatives is going to stick with somebody who's really not doing the right thing. Once you go into court, you're swearing in. They ask you, do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth? And if you're caught lying, he's going to have more than child support to pay. So there's one way that you can do it. So could be a simple cash business, but again, you got to file taxes. And when they file taxes, they use what? Their social security number. Once that social security number comes in, that's where you have them. him or her. So it's not just about catching him. It could be her too, doing the same thing, because some women like to do hair and nails and all this other stuff. Old school, sitting on somebody's steps, braiding their hair, and they slide them some money. Hey, where you get your hair done? Oh, so my girl down the block did it. Boom, there's your proof right there. So guys and girls, you can get caught. So instead of trying to go a roundabout way, just do the right thing and just pay your child support so you can be happy. So you don't have to be looking over your shoulder or wondering if you're not going to get your taxes. You don't have to live like that. Glenn, I work 2 jobs. Will they garnish both of my jobs? They'll try to get what they can from one job, Glenn. So if you owe, say every month you're supposed to pay $300 a month, or maybe $300 a week. I know that's pretty steep, but just say it's $300 a week. If your pay does not cover that from that one job, they're going to go after the other job. But they're not going to take $300 from this job and $300 from that job. They're not going to do that. They're only going to take what they're allowed to take. So don't think that you can't work 2 jobs. You can. Some people do work one enough to take care of the child and the child support. The other one is to take care of themselves and to take care of their business. Now here's X. X says, I am serving my country. Why should I pay child support? X, I don't even know where to begin with that one. If you do not pay your child support, your wages could be garnished whether you like it or not. And the U.S. military requires that you take financial care of your children and atone to the agreement between the parents and the court order. Or the military, because when you go in, I'm quite sure they do ask you a lot of questions. Marvin asks, my child lives with me. How do I stop paying child support? Send a written statement, Marvin, to your case specialist or to the court stating that the child lives with you, and begin the process of filing a motion to suspend your child support payments. Bill, can they suspend my license if I'm behind in my child support payments? If you are 60 days or more behind on your child support obligations, the Child Support Enforcement Administration is supposed to notify the motor vehicle. They'll suspend your driver's license. Now you can apply, men, women too, you can apply for a conditional license, meaning that they'll let you have your license only to go back and forth to work so you can pay that child support off. Don't think that, I'm going to party on the weekends, I got my car, because if you stop for whatever reason and they see it's conditional, you're going to have more than just a problem with child support. You can get arrested because it was only conditional. Ladies, this one's for you. If he moved out of town and I cannot find him, how do I get my child support payments? I was wondering if somebody was going to ask that question. Well, look, if they found bin Laden, they can definitely find him. Believe me, they'll find him. For one, everybody has a social security number. Wages are garnished, and if he changes jobs, it may take a few weeks for them to find him, but they'll find him, and then they'll garnish his wages again. He's not going to want to keep running from job to job because it's not going to look good that this man can't hold on to a job. So at some point, nobody's going to want to hire him. So that's one way of, getting your child support. This is my last question for tonight, and it's from Marcus in the Bronx. He writes, I already have a child I'm paying child support for. Will I have to pay child support for the second child? If so, will I have to pay the same amount? Well, Malcolm, I'm not sure if your question is whether you have a second child with the same parent as the first child or if there's another parent involved. But either way, you would have to pay child support for both children. However, your initial child support payments will be considered when the child support is ordered. So if you have 2 children by 2 different women and you're paying, just say, $100 a week, when you go to court for this child, you let them know that you already have a child support order for another child, and the judge or master or whoever it is that you see will take that into consideration. I don't know if they're going to make it the same, how much less they may make it, but that's going to happen in court. I want to thank you all for watching and listening to this episode. I hope it was informative, and I hope both parties will think about what is in the best interest of their child. Remember, each parent has a legal obligation to support their children despite the custody arrangements. That means that you and your ex must both contribute to the cost of your child's upbringing. You might have to pay child support if you have 50-50 custody. I don't know. They may need more at one house than they do at the other. 50-50 doesn't always mean 50-50. Suppose you make $6,000 a month and you have sole custody of your child, and your ex earns $4,000 per month. You would be responsible for 60% of the child support amount and assume to pay this directly for the child's benefit. Your ex support's obligation would be 40% of the amount paid to you. Multiple factors can affect each parent's child support amount, such as custody and visitation. Learn to negotiate before you go to court. Remember, it's all about the child and it's not about you. Join us August 18th for The Other Side of the Storm with best-selling and visionary author Diana Hill. After 8, After Dark. Thanks, guys, and I'll see you in 2 weeks. That's a good one. You don't get a pass, but thank you for yourself.
Basic Black, After Dark, the all-new podcast show with your